And you mentioned you lived out there for a little while as well. How was that? What was that like to live out in
Oh,
Thailand?
dude, wow. I mean, Thailand, it's a wild place,
Yeah.
it's quite lawless and yeah, it can be dangerous. But I tell you what, it's one of the most fun places I've ever been. The people are outstanding. The general culture and day-to-day way of life is very appealing to me. They live in the spa, they live for massage. So it's very relaxed, nice lifestyle. I think working in music out there, I think that sort of lifestyle of Thailand, it's not the most productive for a music career. They have this thing called Thai time, which basically means everybody's late for
Mm.
every you know what I mean? And so doing business out there can be a little bit tricky, but it's it's really fun. It was so much fun, and where we were really started to act as a hub for a lot of different sort of musical activities in the whole of Asia, not just Thailand. We were working with Avex in Japan and all sorts of different organizations, it's very exciting actually out there. Look, music business wise and music kind of culture wise, yeah, Thailand is what it is. I mean, it's not the biggest market, but it's big enough, 70
Mm.
million people. It is what it is. You're never going to get a worldwide star come out of Thailand, just the nature of it. Do you know what I mean? But dude, is it worth it? Is it worth being in the music industry over there? Yes,
Mm.
100%. I mean, my buddy Shane Edwards, fantastic record producer, this guy, Australian guy, lives in Bangkok. Um, I mean, for him, he could go anywhere in the world right now, any top studio, and get a senior engineer, senior production job anywhere he wanted. But for him, it's the fun of being in Thailand, working with these Thai bands, the lifestyle of it. That is the thing that, great. If you're a producer working out in Metropolis in London, it's great. You're working in the business. This is pro as hell and whatever, but you still live in London. It's still sort of that grey lifestyle that we have. Whereas, Shane, he lives in Bangkok. So he gets
Yeah.
out of the studio session and it's like, right, cocktails on the roof bar. So the lifestyle is very appealing,
Mm.
and look, it is a growing territory in terms of its music and entertainment businesses as well. It's been stuck in the mud over there for many years. There was basically two companies that run everything, and really there was one called GRM Grammy,
Mm.
and they were very. I mean, you hear of labels sort of being controlling, but I mean, GRM, wow, they
Really?
own everything to do with you. Everything to do with you as an artist, they own it forever.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's dodgy publishing out there, basically no publishing. So it's it's a little bit lawless and a little bit what have you, but I do see it emerging, and Thai music's getting much more modern. More and more people are moving to Thailand to do business. I think it's one of the fastest. I think it's one of the places where most entrepreneurs, emigrate to. So that's interesting. Yeah, look, it's an amazing place. If you think you're going to go there and have worldwide success in the music business, think again. But if you think you can go there and build a career and have an excellent lifestyle doing so, yeah, you think right,
Yeah. Because sometimes that appeals to more people, doesn't it? Having that lifestyle plus the
Yeah,
business behind it. So it's like a win-win, isn't it? Basically.
exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like what we were saying earlier, you can spend your life sort of striving for the top dog kind of stuff. You want to have a big artist, have a big record and be massively successful. But if that comes at a cost to your own well-being and sense of fulfillment and all of that, I mean, is it worth it? Like I
Mm.
say, I've been around quite a few really wealthy people, and I have to say I don't want that. I've met a couple of billionaires, I've met a couple of people with hundreds of millions, and I would rather have a financial success that is adequate, but my day-to-day fulfillment is there, like
Mm.
100%. And I
Definitely.
think the same is true in music business. I want artists to look. I mean, you have a big hit, but you're not happy. Well, it wasn't any good, was it?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Whereas if you have steady, growth and you're fulfilled, that's good.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. Like, I think going to bed with a number one record and $1 million in the bank, but depressed, sucks compared to going to bed with, you know, some new fans, happy in your progress, made positive steps forward this morning, and feel fulfilled from what you're doing. That's what it's about, because life's short, and if you spend so much of it caught up on the big wins and, you know, being a hit artist and all of that, you're never actually going to enjoy yourself. You're always there. And from my experience, people that I've met that have attained it, you know, the big records, the big deals, all of it, they're never happy after. I was chatting to a guy on a consultation call the other day, right? And he was telling me about a producer on TikTok that he's friends with.
Yeah.
I won't say his name, but this guy has blown up recently because he's produced a couple of songs for people on TikTok who have blown up, like, massively. And literally overnight, you know, this guy's life changed, and offered a massive deal. I think he got $250,000 out of capital, you know, as a producer. You know, one of the records he produced, #1 in the States. So, you know, his life changed in a couple of weeks, like literally massively. And they had a big signing party. He's got the money in his bank and blah, blah, blah. And then he calls his friend, who was the guy I was speaking to on the consultation call, calls his friend the next day and says, bro, you know, I'm #1 in the country. I'm working with 2 of the biggest artists in the country right now. I have $250,000 in my bank account. We had the biggest party last night. Why am I depressed today? Why am I still depressed? It's like, because that ain't it. Your progression as a producer, as an artist, your day-to-day steps forward is where the juice of life is. You know, the big record deal, the hundreds of grands advance, the big hit, I see them as mountaintops, right? We're all trying to climb mountains and get to those mountaintops. We all want 1 million streams. We all want, you know, 1 million record sales. We all want a manager, a label deal, whatever else. But it's the climb of the mountain where we spend most of our time. And that's where most of our learning is, most of our joy comes from, the understanding of what it takes to get to the top of the mountain. When you get to the top of the mountain, it's short-lived. You get what happens when you get to the top of the mountain? You take a look around, you take a picture, you put a flag in the ground, then what? You either walk back down the mountain or you find another one to climb. The real juice is in the climb. So that guy, you know, who a couple of big hits and a load of money in the bank, he reached the mountaintop. He reached the mountaintop that he was trying to climb. And he got there and went, was that it?
Yeah.
I've put my stick in the ground. I've taken a picture. Is that it? And it's like, yeah, that's it. The mountaintop is only a small element of life. And if everything's attached to that, you'll never be happy. Be aware that, like, the wins and the losses are short-lived. It's the climb that is the juice, you know. Now, for that guy, who I obviously don't know, I was sort of talking to a friend of his about this, there's only one way that I can think for that guy to sort of not be depressed. Get back on the grind. Get back on the thing that brought you those artists on TikTok, that made you blow up, that made you get the deal in the first place, which was focus on the craft. Focus on moving forward, daily progress. You know, that's where the climb. That's where the juice is. You know, and hopefully that guy will know this. And next time he reaches a mountaintop, he'll be self-aware enough to go, I'm at a mountaintop, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to celebrate. Great, we reached the mountaintop. Back on the climb immediately after.
Yeah.
Win or lose, by the way. I was, you know, just thinking about that. I was watching Champions League final the other night. Okay, and I'm not. I used to be a football guy, but I'm really not. I haven't followed it in years. Yeah. But I was watching the game, and at the end of the game, it really struck me the joy of Chelsea players. I mean, you see it in their faces. You're like, oh my! I mean, they're at the top of the mountain right there. Yeah. They've just won the Champions League, and the disappointment, the failure, you know, the death of Man City. You look in their faces, just, you know, so gut-wrenchingly bad, disappointed. But what occurred to me was, this is just a moment, and this moment will pass. They're elated right now, and they're devastated right now. But this isn't the be-all and end-all of these people's careers or these clubs. You know, what happens on Monday morning after this game? They get back in the gym, win or lose, both teams. They get back on the training field. They get back to the progress, the thing that's going to see them through, back on the grind.
Yeah.
One win or loss in a game, be it, you know, a Sunday League or the Champions League final, is short-lived. It's short-lived. It's back on that climb that is where the juice of life is, you know. And I think that's something I really want to get across to artists and just music people in general. It's like, you've got to remove attachment of your self-worth and your sense of, you know, emotional well-being. It can't be attached to the outcomes of your music. Just like with Chelsea or Man City players, their sense of who they are as footballers and their purpose and progress moving forward can't be tied to that one night. You know, it's got to be tied to the climb. Right, what went wrong? Back in the gym, let's work it out.
Yeah.
Right, what went right? How do we keep this momentum? Back in the gym, let's work it out.
Yeah.
Same with a writer, artist, producer. You know what I mean? We all want these mountaintops, but we've got to realise the juice of life is in the climb.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah, it's so true. I couldn't agree more. And talk about that kind of that work ethic as well, and football and stuff. It's like with Ronaldo, for instance. Every player that talks about him say he's the first one in, the last one out, every single day. Even now, at his age, even now, he's like late 30s, now 36, 37, whatever he is. He's still putting in that work ethic now because he knows, like you just said, like every career, or a lot of them, especially in the sports industry or the music industry, is short-lived. But he's still putting in that work every single day to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what people miss, I think, a lot of the time, is that kind of work ethic and obsession to be the best, isn't it?
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. And just follow the artistic journey, because the journey of the artist is not, it's not to get a hit record. It's not to become a huge artist. That's a part of the journey. The journey is that of artistic exploration, and that never ends. What you're working out as an artist is who you are and where you fit in the world. Trying to figure something out through doing this. That's the journey you're on as a creator. The external success of it, okay, like, yeah, that's commercial and that's like real world and that's great. But like you just said, like, let's say when an artist's career is over, they've had a 30-year run, they've been a big star, they've had 5 major records, they've toured the world multiple times, and now it's, you know, they're kind of no longer relevant or whatever. Do they stop making music? No, of course not. That person's still in there. You know, you look at a Prince or someone like that. Well, they was in the studio every day, because what was important? The journey of the artist. It's them chipping away. It's like, yeah, he had a big hit song like last week. Great. I don't end here. That's one little node, one little checkpoint on the path. You know what I mean? And again, it's like, that was the Champions League final win. You put Purple Rain out, you get a big hit. Champions League final, we won. You put another record out and it's a flop, and you go, oh, we lost. Back in the gym. Back on the grind, back in that studio, focusing on the journey, the artistic progression, where you're figuring out yourself and your place in the world. You know, how people respond to that is kind of neither here nor there. Really. The true artist journey is I think is not even interested in external response to their music. They probably don't even release it. You think about, you know, artists, visual artists, painters who spent 50 years painting paintings they never showed the world. That was an artistic job. Why were they doing it? Why were they painting? To figure something out, to get better at the craft, to explore the craft. How people putting it out there and it being received from the audience is another element of it when you're trying to build a career. But the actual core of the artistic journey is just in the creation of the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I think that's the key.